John Harbaugh is at the center of one of the most heated debates in Baltimore right now. And for once, it's not about Lamar Jackson or the offensive line. It's the head coach himself who's got the fan base in a frenzy. You've got former players sounding off, fans split down the middle, and the entire Ravens organization sitting at a crossroads. And here's the thing. It's not just a knee-jerk reaction to a few bad games. This is about a larger, deeper question that's been building over years. Is John Harbaugh still the right man to lead this team forward? Chris Canty, a former Raven who knows what the old-school Ravens culture felt like, came out recently and said something that hit hard, but hit home. He reminded everyone that the Super Bowl title feels like a lifetime ago. 2012 is ancient history in NFL years. That was a different league, a different era, and definitely a different Ravens team. And sure, Harbaugh deserves credit for that title. But what have the Ravens done lately under his leadership? Just 3 playoff wins in over a decade. That's not the kind of standard Baltimore used to hold. That's not the Ravens' way. Canty wasn't bashing Harbaugh. He actually praised him, called him a fantastic coach. But he also said something that a lot of people are thinking but haven't said out loud. Maybe, just maybe, the message has gone stale. That happens in sports. Even great coaches lose their grip, not because they suddenly forget how to coach, but because the voice that once fired everyone up now gets tuned out. When a coach's words stop hitting home, when players start going through the motions instead of playing with fire, that's when you know something's off. Now, let's be real here. If Harbaugh were fired tomorrow, another team would scoop him up in seconds. No question. He'd have offers pouring in. The man's resume speaks for itself. But this isn't about whether Harbaugh can coach in the NFL. Of course he can. The question is whether he's still the right fit for this team, in this city, with this quarterback. Lamar Jackson isn't 23 anymore. He's entering the back half of his prime. And if the Ravens keep falling short, how many more of these years are they willing to waste? It's not just Chris Canty raising these concerns. Eric Weddle, another former Raven who knows what it's like inside that locker room, also spoke up. He pointed out the obvious. When you've got Derrick Henry in the backfield and you're running back-to-back tush pushes from the 1-yard line, something's wrong. That's not just a play call gone bad. That's a failure in decision-making at the highest level. Weddle was clear. At the end of the day, it falls on the head coach. You either coach it or you allow it. There's no escaping that responsibility. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator brought in to modernize and unlock this Ravens offense, admitted that he got those goal line calls wrong. He owned it. He said it straight up. If something doesn't work, you second-guess it. That kind of accountability is refreshing, especially after years of hearing vague coach speak that never really goes anywhere. But even with Monken owning the mistake, that doesn't take the heat off Harbaugh. Because if the offensive coordinator is making calls that don't reflect the team's identity, it's on the head coach to step in and say, no, we're not doing that. That's the part fans are struggling with right now. What exactly is John Harbaugh doing in these moments? He's not calling plays. He's not managing the clock with much confidence. And yet, he's still the CEO of this team. The voice, the tone setter, the one who's supposed to step in and make the tough calls. But he didn't override Monken in that Rams game. He didn't demand a handoff to Henry at the 1. He stood by and watched as the offense stumbled through a critical moment. And it's not just one bad decision. It's a pattern. You go back to the Greg Roman era. How long did it take for the team to finally move on? That was a full year too late. And let's not forget how fiercely Harbaugh defended Roman until the very end. Now, it's Zach, or on the defensive side. A young, inexperienced coordinator who's clearly in over his head. Any other team would have pulled the plug by now. But Harbaugh sticks with his guys, no matter what. And that loyalty, while admirable, is becoming a liability. The truth is, the Ravens have always been a loyal organization. Owner Steve Bisciotti is not the type to panic or make rash moves. But the NFL doesn't care about loyalty. It cares about results. The Ravens are sitting at 1 win and 5 losses. That's not just a slow start. That's a disaster, especially with a healthy Lamar expected back after the bye. And while the record might improve, the playoff expectations are still staring everyone in the face. If this team doesn't at least reach the Super Bowl this year, then what exactly are they building toward? It's hard to imagine Bisciotti pulling the trigger mid-season. That's just not how the Ravens operate. But if this team crashes and burns, there has to be accountability. There's no more Greg Roman to blame. There's no more learning curve. This is Harbaugh's team, through and through. And if the messaging isn't landing, if the players aren't responding, then it might be time to say what no one wants to say. Maybe Harbaugh's time in Baltimore has run its course. Let's go even deeper. Because the players, as much as they try to say the right things, their body language tells another story. You see it in the lack of urgency, the blown assignments, the way they talk in post-game interviews. There's a fog over this team, a sense of drifting. And in the NFL, when that happens, it almost always points back to coaching. You can't fire the players. You can't start over with Lamar Jackson. So the focus naturally shifts to the guy at the top. Harbaugh has been the face of this franchise for nearly 2 decades. Not Bisciotti, not even Lamar. Harbaugh is the one answering the tough questions every week, setting the tone in the locker room, carrying the brand of Ravens football on his back. But being the face of a franchise is not the same as being the right leader for its future. And when you've got a generation of players that might be tuning you out, it might be time to hand the keys to someone new, someone with a fresh voice, a new message, and a different vision. That's the crossroad this team is at. This bye week isn't just about resting up and healing injuries. It's about soul-searching. It's about looking at the rest of the schedule and asking one big question. Who are the Ravens trying to be? If the answer is a playoff team, a contender, a legitimate threat in the AFC, then they've got to start acting like it. And that might mean making tough decisions. Because let's be honest, if the Ravens lose to the Bears after this bye, it's over. 1 win and 6 losses? That's not a team with Super Bowl hopes. That's a team facing a complete collapse. And if that happens, what comes next? Do you start trading off pieces? Do you hold on to the hope that this same group can somehow run it back next year? Or do you finally make the bold move and begin a new chapter? This fan base deserves better. Lamar Jackson deserves better. This team has too much talent to be wasting prime years stuck in the same cycle. And if Harbaugh can't be the one to break that cycle, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to find someone who can. The idea that this Ravens season could still somehow be salvaged hinges on one thing: results. Not effort, not potential, not moral victories. Actual, tangible wins. And right now, the conversation isn't just about John Harbaugh as a coach. It's about the structure of the team. It's about how long Baltimore is willing to ride with a system that hasn't produced postseason success in a decade. Because at the end of the day, playoff wins are what separate the great franchises from the good ones. And right now, the Ravens are teetering between the two. There's a scenario being floated that even if this season ends poorly, whether it's injuries, missed opportunities, or simply bad execution, the Ravens might still bring Harbaugh back. That he's earned the benefit of the doubt. That this year was an outlier. And sure, that sounds fair on the surface. But how many outlier years can one organization accept before the outlier becomes the norm? This idea of giving him a pass for injuries or praising him for simply getting close is exactly what creates a culture of complacency. You're either contending or you're not. And the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson under center, with Roquan Smith leading the defense, with veterans like Derrick Henry on the field, this team isn't built for patience. This is a win-now roster. You don't keep pushing off expectations year after year, waiting for the perfect moment. Because in the NFL, that moment never comes. You either seize the opportunity or watch it slip by. And this is where things start to feel eerily familiar. Remember the Greg Roman era? When fans could see, plain as day, that the offense had plateaued, that the creativity had dried up, that the schemes were stale and defenses had figured them out? It wasn't about whether Roman was a bad coach. It was about whether he was the right coach at that moment. And they held on too long. They waited too long to move on. And in doing so, cost themselves critical time in Lamar's development. Now we're seeing shades of that same situation with John Harbaugh. The structure is starting to feel old. The culture that once gave the Ravens their edge now feels like it's holding them back. And it's not even about a lack of talent. On paper, this roster is more than capable. But the execution is inconsistent, the situational awareness is lacking, and the in-game decisions often leave fans scratching their heads. Those are not just coordinator issues. That's a leadership issue. Eric Weddle said it best. Coaching matters. When you get to the 1-yard line and call back-to-back failed plays, you've got to look at who's making those decisions, or at least who's letting them happen. The coach has the headset. He hears the call. If it doesn't feel right, he has the authority to change it. And if he doesn't, That's a decision too. That silence is a choice. And for a team that keeps stumbling in high-leverage moments, silence is not a luxury they can afford. Harbaugh has always been loyal to his staff, almost to a fault. He kept Greg Roman for longer than anyone outside the building thought made sense. Now he's standing by Zach, or a first-time defensive coordinator who looks overwhelmed in a role that demands precision. The defense has talent. It has athletes. But it often looks lost, confused, reactive instead of aggressive. That falls on coaching. And the fact that Harbaugh refuses to shake things up even as the product on the field falters says a lot about where his priorities lie. But this isn't just a Harbaugh problem. This is a Ravens problem. This organization has prided itself on stability, and while that's usually a good thing, there's a thin line between stability and stagnation. You can't let fear of change stop you from making necessary moves. And as painful as it would be to part ways with a coach who's meant so much to this franchise, the Ravens have to ask themselves a very serious question. Is their loyalty to Harbaugh worth more than their window to win with Lamar Jackson? Because let's not kid ourselves, that window is shrinking. Lamar's not a kid anymore. He's been in the league long enough. He's taken enough hits. You can't assume you've got 5 more years of elite-level Lamar. And if you're not maximizing these prime seasons, what exactly are you doing? What's the plan? To coast into wild-card weekends and hope for the best? That's not good enough. Not with this talent. Not with this quarterback. Not with these fans. There's also the matter of accountability. It feels like everyone inside the Ravens building gets a free pass. Todd Monken admits his mistakes, and that's commendable, but what changes after that? If the result is the same the next week, does the honesty really mean anything? Zach Orr's defense gets pushed around, yet nothing changes. No firings. No adjustments. No new voices brought in. Just more of the same. And that's what's driving this sense of frustration from the fan base. It's not just about the losses, it's about how the losses look. It's about seeing the same issues pop up week after week with no clear plan to fix them. It's about watching a team with championship potential consistently fall short and then pretend like everything's fine. That kind of denial is dangerous. It leads to wasted seasons. And the Ravens can't afford another wasted year. Now, the Bears game is looming large. It's not just another game on the schedule. It's a line in the sand. Win, and maybe, just maybe, you can start to rebuild some momentum. Lose, and the entire season starts to unravel. And at that point, the conversations get real. If you're 1-6 after the bye, you're not making a deep playoff run. You're not proving anyone wrong. You're not building a contender. You're just surviving. And if that happens, the Ravens need to be honest with themselves. This isn't the time for halfway measures. Either you commit to making a serious change, or you admit that this era has reached its limit. You don't try to trade for one more edge rusher or bring in a guard to plug a hole. You start planning for the future with a new voice, a new direction, and maybe even a new identity. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. A wave of shock and speculation has hit the NFL world this week, all sparked by a single, seemingly innocuous event. Drake Jackson was spotted wearing purple. Yes, purple. And if that wasn't enough to send fans into a frenzy, the phone lines at team headquarters reportedly lit up with calls from eager reporters and anxious insiders trying to decode the meaning behind the bold color choice. The timing? Perfectly suspicious. Could this be more than just a fashion statement? Jackson, known for his explosive athleticism and game-changing plays, has been the subject of trade rumors for months, but nothing concrete had ever emerged until now. Sources whisper that his purple attire may be a subtle nod to the Baltimore Ravens, the franchise whose signature color is none other than, you guessed it, purple. The NFL community has been abuzz, dissecting every Instagram post, every tweet, every Instagram story in a desperate attempt to confirm what many suspect. Drake Jackson has sealed a deal with the Ravens. The excitement is palpable. Ravens fans are already imagining the impact of adding Jackson to their roster. His versatility on the field, combined with the team's tactical approach, could create a nightmare scenario for opposing defenses. Meanwhile, analysts are scrambling to speculate how the team might adjust its lineup and strategy if indeed Jackson is officially joining the ranks. This could change the entire dynamic of the AFC North. one insider hinted, speaking on the condition of anonymity. Of course, nothing has been confirmed by Jackson or the Ravens organization. But in a league driven by speculation, symbolism, and subtle signals, wearing purple might be as close as you get to breaking the news without an official announcement. Fans on social media are already reacting, some sharing memes, others dissecting the exact shade of his hoodie for hidden meanings. Sports bars have been buzzing, online forums are overflowing, and the rumor mill shows no signs of slowing down. Whether it's a calculated tease or an unintentional slip, one thing is clear. The Drake-Jackson, Ravens connection has captured the imagination of the NFL universe. If this rumor is true, the next season could be electrified by a partnership that no one saw coming, but everyone has been waiting for. Purple has never looked so dangerous. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.